All right, good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon. So, what I want to do today is just talk about an issue. Last video I made, I spoke about the idea that you have to have a plan, right? You have to have a plan. And so, the, the idea is that in order to be successful, you can't just lollygag and you just can't float through life. That's not the best way to proceed. If you want to make it in life, you're going to have to uh, be more purposeful. And so, in order to be more purposeful, you have to have a plan. You have to know where you're going. And so, in order to get to California from New York, if you don't have a plan and you just want to jump on the railroads and just ride around unknown uh, in terms of direction, you may get to California, you may not. You may get there in 10 hours, or you might get there in 10 months, because you have to set a plan. You have to have a direction. You have to have a purpose moving forward. And what I was saying was that each day that you get up and rise and you praise your Lord for allowing you for another day, you should also have a plan for that day. It shouldn't just be, okay, I'm up, just do what I feel like doing. No, before you go to bed, it would be wise to map out your day. What are you going to do the next day? And what are you going to do the day after? And all of these things have to be moving you towards your goal, towards your purpose, towards your mission, towards your plan. And so you're not just floating through life. You know what you're going to be doing that day. You know where you're going to be going that day. It's not just, I'm going to just, go where the wind blows. Float on, float on. It's not how you do it. And, you know, playing with probabilities of failure if you do it that way. And so I suggest, you know, not to do it that way. Last thing, I also talked briefly, about um, having a vision, a plan, a purpose, a mission as to where you're going. And, you should give that some thought, because after you uh, lay out your vision, your plan, you're going to be walking towards it. So you're going to be spending day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year, walking towards this goal. Um, and eventually you're going to get there. Uh, you're going to get there. And I think one of the worst things to do is to get there and then not enjoy what you have. And now you have to, recreate yourself. And recreating yourself is not necessarily the end of the world, because a lot of people do it. A lot of people go into areas and they don't they don't particularly like it. They don't particularly care for it. Once they get there, I've known people who walked away from the legal field. They just don't like it, and it takes a long uh, stretch of planning and purposeful movement to get to that place. And they just don't like it. I see people walk away from Wall Street jobs, six-figure salaries. They just didn't like it. That happens. Uh, and then adjustments will be made. I'm not really talking about that. I'm talking about the person who, like, for instance, I'll give an example. I'm talking about the person who, when originally drafting their plan, they sitting down at their kitchen table, what have you, and they drafting their plan, they're not even considering like basic things about what their destination will bring them. I mean, like, for instance, I'll give you an example. I had a young lady who always, would talk to me about becoming a correctional officer. That's what she wanted to do. She was a young lady, inner city, projects, wanted to get out the projects, wanted a better life for her son. She was a single mother, and she drafted a plan. Um, and she went on her mission to become a correctional officer. And whoa, did she have to put that work to get there? She was overweight, for one. She couldn't do not one push up. She couldn't carry anything on her back, like the dummy. She couldn't do it. So she had to go to the gym. She had to lose weight. She had to start running, get her cardio up, her strength up. Eventually, she did it. She had to go to school because she didn't have an education. So she took a criminal justice program. She did it. Now she had to take the test. So she had to study for the test, took the test, she did it. And then she finally got the job. And, she was there for like, after all that, I'm talking about, I watched the journey. After all that, she hated it like within the first 6 months. And then when I met up with her and I was asking her, like, what's going on? Why? She's saying that, okay, she hated it because she's inside all day. And I'm thinking to myself, I don't want to say it out loud, but I'm thinking to myself, yeah, it's a jail. You're working in a jail. Like, you thought you was going to be. So, I talked to her, like, did you think about that? Like when you was forming it, I never really thought about that. I don't like being inside all day. You understand? She's more of an outdoors person. That's the type of stuff I'm talking about, like basic considerations. You got to get that clear. Another thing, she didn't do her basic research about the destination she wanted to go. She didn't realize because she's doing all this so she can have time to spend with her child and money to spend with her child, but she didn't realize because she didn't do her due diligence when she was drafting her plan that you're not going to have a lot of time with your child in New York as a new correctional officer. Sometimes you have to do double shifts, 16 hours a day. And when you're home, you're going to be so tired, you're going to just want to sleep. She didn't think about that. She didn't think about it because she didn't do her due diligence. And the last thing she didn't think about was she doesn't get along with other women. And guess where they put her at? In the women's section. I guess she just assumed they was going to put her with men. They didn't put her with men. They put her with women, and she doesn't get along with women. And so she clashed with the inmates all day long. Some of the other correctional officers, female correctional officers, they got along just great. But the women, they hated her. So they made her life miserable. Everybody gave her attitude. So imagine you want a job you don't like because you're indoors. You don't like because you got to be there all day. And then the people are giving you mad attitudes and really threatening you, in implicit ways all day, every day. And so that's what I'm talking about. You got what you planned for, but you didn't really develop a good plan. You didn't vet your plan very well. All right, so vet your plan and then do your thing. NTB.